Hi friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we've got a fixed blade for you. This is by KIZER. This is the baby. We've got G10, we've got 154 cm blade, we've got a Kydex sheath that goes either belt, hip style, or scout style on your back. In fact, I think it's not too big for a lot of people are going to like this as a neck knife. I probably would carry it as a neck knife. I think it's a decent camp knife, like a secondary camp knife. You've got the cutting edge, the handle high enough off the cutting edge that you could use it as a camp knife, especially if you used like a pinch, between a pinch and a saber kind of grip. You could use it for, yeah, a lot of little tasks. They say it's a leaf design. I think it's a modified leaf. I think you got quite a bit of a drop pointed end of a leaf shaped blade. But leaf, drop point, whatever you want to call it, just fine. It comes two ways. This all black version with the black coating, or you get natural G10 and satin finish, except for I saw one store, I think it's knifeoutlet.com. They've got in their photograph, it's got a satin blade with a black G10. That's pretty nice. How much does it cost? It's $59 US. At White Mountain Knives, they're out of stock on both of them, but you get 10% off, which means it's $53.10. So you might want to use my links down below to go to White Mountain Knives, pick which one you want, and hit the notify me button, put in your email address, and you'll get an email when it's back in stock. Because you're saving like $5.50. Every $5.50 adds up eventually, doesn't it? In Canada, my favorite store, Integrity Knives, doesn't carry this knife. Blades Canada has it for $93. White Mountain Knives, the Canadian equivalent, the currency rate, exchange rate now is $68. So 92 or 68. That's like 35% more money in Canada. And fixed blades have zero issues getting across the border unless they're push daggers, and this is not a push dagger. So White Mountain Knives is the place to get this. Also, you almost never have to pay taxes from White Mountain Knives unless you spend a truckload of money. If you're just buying one or two knives that aren't high-end, like if you're like on my channel, if you're like me, buying budget knives, that's the way to go, in my opinion. So, you want more details about this? Let's get over to the tabletop and take a close look. Here it is. I didn't do extensive cut tests with this because, I'm still recovering from my knee replacement surgery, but I found that the coating on here is fairly durable. I don't have any scratches on it, but it's not very sharp anymore because I've done a fair bit of testing on it. Take a look. Oh, wait, before I go ahead of myself, you want to take a look at the sheath, don't you? We've got a pancake style sheath, and it's got good retention. Nicely made snap there. Holds tight. No noise. It's not loose at all. We've got two screws right here, and that means that this thing only mounts in this spot. So you don't have a chance to move that anywhere. But the good thing about this is, if you look at this part, you can slide that over like that. Now it's scout style. So it'll hang across your belt, and slide that up like that, and it's the other way. If you're going to use it in any one of those ways for a longer period of time, you just tighten up the screw that's on the, the sliding part. You can tighten up at the pivot part too. You tighten up that screw and it'll stay wherever you want. If you want it hanging sort of on an angle, you've got that option as well. So I'm quite fond of this. I first saw this, I think it was on a tuna fire fixed blade knife. And this, if I remember correctly, this is a little more sturdily built. I think this Kydex is a little thicker and stuff. But, it's very simple. This piece here, I believe, is ABS plastic. Now, that's the belt loop. And you see what kind of belt loop that is? So your belt fits in there. You can just slide it over your belt to get it on. I don't have a belt handy right here. Just imagine this ruler is a belt. You know, it just slides on and then it's on the belt. And to take it off the belt, you just pull it away and then slide it out. So I really like the way this works. There's no tools and yet it's secure. Nice belt. That's 2 inches right there. Let me double check that. Yep, 2 inches easily fits in there. It's got a little bit over 2 inches. That's 50 millimeters, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 50 millimeters and, you know, somewhat thick fits in here, no problem. That's the sheath. We got a drain hole right there, so that's a good thing. But other than that, it's a very simple pancake sheath that's made quite well. Now let's take a look at this blade. We've got a big arc across the back and it just continues along the spine of the blade and then it drops down more quickly right there. The blade shape, yeah, it is a leaf shape. I'm just calling it with a drop point tip. Full flat grind. You can see that plunge going all the way to the spine. It's not terribly thin behind the grind, but it's not thick. It's right at that 20 thousandths that I don't like it to be thicker than. And since it's such a wide bevel and it's not a very thick blade, you're going to be able to sharpen this thing a number of times before it starts getting, you know, much too thick behind the grind. So it's a good blade shape for doing pretty much everything except for if you want to do intensive puncturing. It's not that great for that. But just about anything else, you've got a nice belly for cutting and slicing. And you can do some piercing as well. We've got a really nice sharpener's choil there. It's plenty big enough to be fully functional, and it's not oversized, but it goes deep enough up into the blade that you can sharpen this thing many, many times before you're going to get past the end of that sharpener's choil. I like that the sharpener's choil is not too small. Then on the spine of the blade, we've got a fair bit of jimping there. It's about 1.5 inches of jimping there. And by the forward grip, there's some jimping right there as well. Very comfortable if you grip it up there. Now my hands are into the extra large range and this is quite comfortable. If your hands are double XL, I think this knife might feel a little bit small for you. But, you know, even if you've got men's small hands, this handle is still very comfortable. It's just a really well thought out design. The badging on the knife, you know, we've got KIZER's logo there. We've got the model number there, 1044C1. The natural G10 and satin finish, I think, is the 1044C2. And right there it says 154cm. And on this side, there's the model name, Baby. And then there's Azo, his designer logo. So there's a fair bit going on, but the badging's not too terribly large. It's okay. The handle, we've got a little bit of a crown on the back of that handle. And then we've got a lanyard hole at the back, and it's chamfered on either side. Not bad. I would have liked the lanyard hole if this was a through hole here, maybe, then that'd be the screw and the lanyard. Or maybe there'd just be, you know, 2 screws and a lanyard hole back here. Might be a little bit better. It's not that bad. It's not going to get too much in the way to be annoying back here. So that's being very nitpicky. The lanyard hole is actually quite nicely done. Now, how well does the G10 match, you know, on this round back and on the belly and on the spine? You rub your nail across it and yeah, you can feel that it's there, but it's not sharp at all to the touch. It's very well matched. The G10 has got a 3D milling. There's a bit of a crown right here, so it's a little thicker right down the middle of it. And you can see that on the pattern on the G10, not Kydex. I had to do 4 takes on the intro. I kept calling this Kydex for some reason. And, oh, yeah, I guess I got a little bit of a mark on the handle there already from, you know, all my testing and stuff. But, hey, that can be polished out really easily. The edges are just slightly rounded all over. Very comfortable in the hand. now I'm going to take these off. These are button screws. They're T8. I haven't taken it apart yet, so I need to take it apart. I want to see if those are free spinning or not. No, they're not free spinning. So, oh, that's the side. They're coming out on this side here. So let's take this off. This one is free spinning on me. Okay. Let's try this one. Oh, this one's coming out no problem. So I will need another T8 screwdriver. Let me find one here. Maybe I can just use this tip to hold it. Maybe that'll be good enough, and I won't need to put it into my little table vise. Whoops. Yeah, that's a little bit harder. I should put it into my table vise to hold it so I don't knock things around. I'll be right back. So yeah, this middle one looks like it had just a little bit of thread locker on there. You might be able to see a little bit of white in the middle of that screw there. But it came out without much trouble at all. So that's how it's made. 2 big holes in there for skeletonizing. Let's get the light on it just right. Oops, and the pin came out. So yeah, these pins are not D-shaped. So if you are taking it apart, it is a good idea to maybe use a little table vise. You know, I've got a table vise that looks like that. And then it's got a base, just a rubber base. It says it's a suction cup base, but the suction cup part doesn't work all that well. Not a big deal. So that's pretty simple how they've put it together, how they've made it. So I'll put it back together now, and then we're going to go over all the sizes and dimensions. One thing that I forgot to mention just before the measurements is how loose these T8 screws are. Not loose, how much play there is in them. So let me get that in there. You can see that wiggling back and forth just a little bit, not much at all. These are pretty good T8 screws. But still, I would prefer if they were a little bit larger, like a T10. The measurements on this now. 154 cm, that's a good steel. It might not be considered a premium steel by some people anymore, but it's at least a mid-grade steel. Hardness, usually around 60 on this, which is quite good. It can go a little bit higher. Of course, it can be lower. Good corrosion resistance, good durability, good cutting edge retention, good toughness. It's a good steel. The weight of this knife, this is 118 grams, 4.2 ounces. The sheath is 67 grams, 2.35 ounces. Together, 185 grams, 6.55 ounces. Not bad at all. The factory sharpness, 3 measurements, and averaged out 120 bests, slightly better than average. The length of the cutting edge is 84.5 millimeters, 3 1/3 inches. The blade length tip to the G10, 98.8 millimeters, 3.89 inches. The thickness of the steel, 2.96 millimeters, 0.1165 of an inch, so just a bit under 1/8 of an inch. The depth of the blade, the widest point is right there, and that is 35.6 millimeters, 1.4 inches. How thin is it behind the grind? 0.5 millimeter, which is 20 thousandths of an inch. So that's pretty good. I wouldn't mind if it was a little bit thinner. I certainly would not want it to be thicker. The grind angles. Well, let's say average 21.5, 20.5. So not terrible. 154 cm, you could easily do this at 18 degrees per side. But the actual measurements, I did 3 measurements on each one. Well, I measured it all across, but 3 points of reference, 20.5, 21.1, ending at 19.8. So that's the average of 20.5. This side started at 21.8, it went to 21.1, and then it went to 21.7. And so I averaged that out and got 21.5. But right at the heel of this blade, the last 1/8, maybe 3/16 of an inch, it went to 24.5 degrees. So overall, there's less than 1 degree variability on the length if you forget about that tiny little spot on the heel. So when they were sharpening it, whoever did it sort of twisted the blade a little bit and made that really steep there. So overall, it's sharpened better than average. The handle length, that is 101 millimeters, 3.98 inches. The thickness of the handle, it's thicker at the end here than it is at, this end, but I'll just give you the widest measurement. That is 14.2 millimeters, 0.559. So very much the same as a lot of, folding knives. It's a little bit less here. It's right at 1/2 inch, right at this end. The handle depth, the widest point here is 27.8 millimeters, which is 1.095, so 1 1/10 inches. And then down here, it's so quite comfortable indeed. The length of the handle, I already did. The grip area, that's what I'm talking about. And this one, I'm including this forward choil because it's not really a separate forward choil. It is a little bit of a step there, but the total length here is about 10 centimeters, about 4 inches, which is quite good. And I did it again. Why do I keep forgetting to do this? The total length of this knife is 198.2 millimeters, which is just under 8 inches, I believe. So let me put it on here. And yeah, a little over 7 3/4. So that's all the measurements and the specs and stuff. This is a nice knife. We've got a good sheath that has, some options on it. This cannot be moved anywhere. It is where it is, and that's where it's going to be unless you make your own different standoff. But like I said earlier, you can tighten this up and make it so it doesn't move around. I actually quite like it. It doesn't sit too high on my hip. I like that it sits a little bit lower on the hip. The belt is here, and they just have a little bit higher than the belt. And the sheath, it's just quite a good sheath. You could make a totally different clip system that you can put on this pancake sheath, because most of these measurements are pretty much standard. Let's see what they are. 1.5 inches, right? Yeah, that's 1.5 inches. And between these two, it's 1.5 inches. So yeah, that's pretty good. I'm quite happy with the sheath. I'm very happy with the knife. The handle's very good. The blade shape is really good. It's functional, useful. Without having a really long, skinny tip, you could even use this thing for skinning. It's a decent knife. If they would have had the natural G10 version in stock when I bought this, I would have bought that instead. So there, my perspective that way. But this is quite nice. And, in the amount of testing I did, it held up. It didn't get all scratched up. So that's nice. It's a good blade, good comfort, pinch grip, saber grip, hammer grip. Either hand, of course, because it's totally ambidextrous. Quite nice. The sheath, though, is not ambidextrous. You're right hand only with this. The price of this is really good. $59. That's just great. So what is that? What did I say? $53.10 after the discount, which is 68 Canadian. And in Canada, the lowest price I found was 92.99 Canadian, so $93. 68 or 93. There you go. In Europe, I found it for 83 euros. That's including the VAT. So I like this knife. It's quite nice, comfortable, works well, cuts good. Sharpen it to a smaller degree. And if it was a little thinner, it'd be better. But hey, it's not bad. It's a really cool knife. I'm very happy with it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing this video with your friends. Thanks for hitting that like button. or the dislike button even. If you press either one, that really does help the algorithm. Leaving a comment really helps the algorithm, gets the video shared out to more people. So please leave just even a little comment saying hi. That'd be very much appreciated. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye for now.